Okay, coming out of hole 14, coming to 15, and we're on the paveway again. This is the same paveway that you've seen in all the video. It all leads to each other. There's really only one through the middle. This opens up to a big, long field, and while I'm here at this vantage point, I should show you that this is where you can see the basket from. You can't see it from the tee box. And I'm sorry, where am I missing it? There it is, sorry. So the basket is tucked in against the wood line there. So you really, on a right-hand shot, you need a big hyzer at the end, or the whole time, whatever. It turns left at the very end. There's a big guardian tree there. If you just drive this one straight down into the open field down there, that's a good shot, but you've got a humongous guardian tree in your way there. I think there's a sycamore there. And the green is pretty well defined, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So I'm going to quickly move over this way. This is another one of the brand new benches that Joe built that came from the disc golf course, and it would be, pretty sure, black locust. This is a new bench, and there are more on the way, I believe. So as I'm approaching here, this is really not normal to see that bucket full of trash and overflowing. I'm suspecting that people who must have picked up trash there's a lot of people that walk along here, so I'm assuming they picked it up here and dumped it there. That's most likely what happened, but it stresses the importance that there's a trash bin. We try to keep all the trash off the course, and that requires someone paying attention and coming out and doing that like every week. And if nobody's doing it, that's what's going to happen. So even though it sounds like it's not a big deal to do that for the last 5 years, you're not going to get anybody patting you on the back for doing that, but that's one of the very important things I think we need out here all the time. So we're at hole 15. It's a par 3, and I think I've noted this already, that you're basically going straight up the fairway, and you want to hyzer left at the end if you're a right-hand shot. If you're a left-hand, humongous in hyzer will get you there. So standing in the tee box, I'm going to go that way. It's quite a ways. I'm not sure I'm giving 100% on this one, but I'm giving just about everything I got on this one to just get it to the basket length. And with this being an open field, I'm actually getting a headwind here where I didn't have any wind on the rest of the course. So this one definitely is a wind factor. If you turn it over just a little too much, it turns right. And one thing I did forget to mention, this roadway right here is the only real marker that we have for out of bounds. So basically what's on the right side of the roadway is one fairway, and what's on the left side is another fairway. So that's been deemed OB after the course was built, and I don't remember, a couple of years ago, but before, for a couple of years it wasn't. So coming down, you're going straight, and one caution is there's a creek all the way down here on the left. You have 10, sometimes 20 feet of forgiveness where you can throw in the woods and still be up high, but if you really chop it off and you really launch it, you're going to end up down there retrieving it, which is possible. There's many little pocket ways where people have opened things up and groomed it. One really interesting part about this hole is this corner bulges out just a little bit to the right to make it just a little bit more difficult. So you got to find a really precise line to run this one. And I've actually been here when one of our friends skipped it off the basket with tremendous amount of power left in the shot. He's kind of the freak, but yeah, so that basically opens up here. We've got a bunch of trees at the corner here, so you just gotta stay out of the left side is all I can say. And then if you go too far right, you've got the road, so you want a really, really, really long, narrow shot. I often end up OB part of the way and then come back in at the end here. I can do it basket length, but I can't seem to get it around this corner ever. So I'm usually ending up over there, and then you've got these two guardian trees here that you're going to have to deal with. And I have to say that's one shot I've learned a little bit about, is just trying to get around this tree, because I end up having to a lot. Basket there, the green is not huge, but it's basically just a little cutout toward the creek, so you don't want to go wrong. But it's a very forgiving hole 3. It's the longest one. I feel like you're just basically launching it straight like hole 1. But yeah, so the winds will bounce the disc around, and once again there's a sign. This one actually says back to the bridge, so it's very good in informing you which way to go. So I'm headed to the last 3, and hole 16 is, well, actually 16, 17, and 18. I don't know how to say this. It might be the more difficult holes. I can't say that because everybody's got a different opinion about that. But if I come into this area down 5, way too many times I end up with bogeys on the last 3 holes here and end up at -2 at the end of the thing. So I have to point out that at the beginning of the course, and this is just my style, but I kind of think it's true for a bunch of us that play together, you really want to get a lot of your birdies at the front 8, because it seems like from 9 to, let's say like 9, 10, 12, and then 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or I would say they're the longer, harder ones. You have to be warmed up, I would say, and get your 100% shots out. And here's the tee box. It shows 260 feet plus 2 feet of elevation. That might be right, but it's probably a couple more feet elevation. It's slightly higher, but not significant difference. Shows we're at the tee box here. You're basically going to this gap here, and you have to turn right there. If you look here, this is about half the distance. It's like the same distance to here as it is to here. So you're not waiting for a late fade. You really have to turn right in the middle of your full shot. And this hole, like I said, this hole is one of those holes that starts to get more difficult than the other ones. This one seems to be a lot of bogeys from people that I've seen, but I haven't heard of any aces, but we do have a couple players who are running it pretty well, and I'm actually starting to get a little bit closer on doing that. I know what the shot is that I need to do, so I've experimented with this hole for 5 years trying to get it right, until I finally came up with what I would see everybody else do. So basically what you're doing here is you're going straight up that hole there, and that tree that's kind of bent over right there. You're taking a right turn about 60 degrees and then going slightly uphill to the right for the same amount of distance from here to that tree. You kind of need to do that again after that hole. So the shot that's working is a humongous anhyzer to get you over there. There are a couple gaps above these bushes here, but this whole thing is a bush line and it's thick or deep, so your chances of getting through it are probably less than 10%, but I can say it's possible. You can't shortcut this one probably very much. We have been able to, and we've actually thought about opening up a gap up there, but I'm not sure what happened to that conversation. But anyway, so you're kind of stuck with this gap here, and I'd say 50% of the mistakes on this hole is people just don't hit this first gap, which is the most important thing to do, and I'm guilty of the same. So, not knocking anybody. Like I said, there's a bunch of woods on the right that are pretty thick there, so you can't just go through it. I'm actually at the bend here, and the basket is still quite a shot up that way. This is another one of those holes where this fairway is fading downhill all the way toward me a couple feet. Like the basket height, the bottom of the basket is probably a good 4 or 5 feet higher than my feet right now. And this fairway has a lot of water that it's getting a little tiny bit better right now. It's starting to form its own little channels where it wants to run. Like there's a little bit of an indentation here, like almost like a swale, or sorry, French drain. So it's starting to create its own little creek here. And then this is literally the beginning of a creek. So if you follow it up, it actually attaches to another part up there that's actually another beginning of what I would call a creek. So you get up to the green. There's no real designated green area here. It's just kind of a continuation of the fairway. There's not much behind there. And when you run this one, when we've been running this one, we're not really getting it up to the basket. We're actually shooting it a little bit too far to the right over there. So we're actually going past the basket a lot of times when we're running it. We have a couple guys with huge power that can do it on a regular basis, but the consistency is just difficult. And this one is not really much wind up here that we're tucked away, but it does affect your shot down in the field. So we're going to head back up to 17. We're approaching the end. Obviously there's another sign telling you to go this way. And originally we had a walkway up that way, and kind of got worn in, and it kind of became in the way of the people on the tee box. So we just diverted it and went this way instead. So this is new in the last year or two. And then with that was a big uphill walk, so I'm going to do what everybody else does. Take a break here, sit on the log for a second, and get right back up. So normally when you get here, this is what you do. You sit down and you rest. Okay, so then we are on hole 17, 238 feet, 1 foot of elevation. Looking at the map, basically we've got, it looks like those might be trees or something right there, but basically we have, that might also be waterways. But anyway, we basically have a bridge going across the bottom. This hole dips down to the center, comes back up to the fairway, and then drops back down to the basket. So I think it was last week actually, I had a good run at this, and I basically had to get a good flex on it. And it came in and approached the disc, approached the basket this way, and I'll show why that's a bad thing when I get down there. So you have to be careful running this one. One of our guys actually, I have actually seen him, I was actually at the other end at the time, but I've actually seen him throw it 75 feet over the basket, which is not It doesn't seem even possible, but he's done it. So again, 238 feet. There's only 1 foot difference in elevation, but I'll show you that we've got a low ceiling, we've got a tight tunnel, and the basket, if you look at the basket from here, sorry, I'm getting in trouble focusing that. You can see you can't even see the pole because there is a crest in that hill right there, and then it drops off after that. So it drops downhill. That basket is a normal looking basket when you get over there with the pole, but you don't have much mercy here. And this is a pretty tight tunnel, so the biggest mistake is everybody's made the same mistakes here. It's just really straight shot for the most part, and that's not easy all the time for us amateurs. So yeah, I guess that marking on the map was actually a waterway. There's a little bit of channel here for water, and then there's definitely a channel over here. This is another beginning of a creek, or just a little area that runs into a creek. We have several of those around the disc golf course. So we have got a bridge here, another one, and this is really the what I would call creek that really drains onto hole 16 a lot, and it's getting improved. Like this channel is kind of forming its way down there, so hopefully that will continue going in the right direction. Just continuing on, I'm at the low spot of the hill. I'm going back uphill, and I'm going to go over the crest of this hill. This is getting into, we have a bunch of cherry trees up in this area. We got a brand new walnut that's about 10 years old that's growing super healthy right there. Really happy for that tree. Black walnut, because we have one next to it that's not going to be there for long, so be nice for the roots to take over. Got a big oak on the left. Shortcut to hole 18. That pathway right there was kind of our shortcut in and out of here, and that pathway was mostly made, I don't actually know who made it. I think I might have done it, but it was made for the tractor to come through here. There's a lot of traffic with the tractor through this area, up and down these hills and around this area. So as I'm coming to the basket, again, I told you my shot last week, I think it was, or the week before. I just barely went right over the top of the basket. And if you look at this, it's downhill about 50 feet, so that's not what you want to do. If you're going to run this one, you have to get a really, really straight shot that if it misses, it's going long. You have to be really careful about fading. If you're right hand, backhand, and you fade at the very end, you have to be careful because it will roll down that hill, and you will be putting from way down there because there is no out of bounds. So there is a penalty. The green is more like a continuation of the fairway. The basket is just kind of set back in the back corner, like the fairway just ends. You could say there's a green area, but there's nothing defined here. So we're going down the hill, and we're basically coming right back up on hole 18. And hole 18 is, boy, I'm going to say that might be the most difficult one to ace, because you're giving it 101% to get to the basket. You can't see the basket, and you've got an unofficial dog leg up there that you have to go around. There is a huge tree right there, and if you go left and cut it off short, you're just might as well make this at least a bogey. This can turn into a triple bogey, unfortunately. No out of bounds. On the right side, there's actually a road over there that's not very busy that goes to the college. There's a road over there, and I've seen nobody actually land on the road, so there's a little bit of forgiving woods on the right. Looking at the sign, Ferguson Brewing Company, they've been very helpful with everything. I believe they give out gift certificates when there's tournaments and fundraisers and stuff. They've been very helpful. They are neighbors in our community, and they've been very supportive. So looking at the map, you're at the bottom of a hill, uphill the whole way, and just basically the biggest hyzer you got if you're right hand, backhand. And I'd say 99% of the time when you have your best shot, you're going to end up around here. Then you've got a clump of trees that are kind of guardians, so you kind of need that little gap there to stay clean. The best description here from here is stay right this whole time and hug the right side, and then fade at the end, the very end there. Not easy to do, but actually one of our guys has actually aced this hole almost twice. But yeah, so 213 feet, I would say it plays like the longest 213 feet that you can play. It's uphill 20 feet, but again, I don't know where these measurements come from. It feels like it's 700 feet uphill, but so I'm gonna walk up, and by the time you're in this portion of the course at the end of a game, this hill right here will tell you whether or not you're finished, because a lot of people get up at the top of the hill like, yeah, it's time to go home. It's a good walk, good exercise. It will get your heart rate up. And look what we found. I'll have to find out whose this is. So I'm at the bend. There's a dogleg tree that I was showing, and it's pretty interesting here. I'm maybe 4 feet standing below the bottom of the basket, so it's not a huge elevation, but there's a crest before it, and you can kind of see that part of the pole looks like it's missing. It's actually just downhill a little bit. There is kind of a green area here, but again, like I said, stay on the right side all the way up here. And you also have this seems to be a good skipping area too, because by the time you get up here it's pretty skippy. Green is about 25 feet around. That's about it.